Right, so in this video I'm going to talk about hamstring injury and lots of different things about hamstring injury in football. And when I say football, for them Americans out there, I mean soccer. So basically the first thing is that 22% of all soccer players get a hamstring injury each season, which is actually quite a lot, which does show that hamstring injury risk is obviously very high in football. And we do see this obviously does occur quite a bit. And again, this is quite an interesting statistic and shows that we've got a lot more room for manoeuvre and improvement on this. The next thing is when they were injured, they found that the average time that a player stayed away from training, full training and therefore games, was 19.7 days. So really it's getting close to in between 2 to 3 weeks, which is actually not too bad. But bear in mind that's staying away from full training. That doesn't mean back to 100%. So yeah, muscle does heal quite quickly. But you know, there still is a definite time frame that's involved in this. The other thing is when do they tend to injure their hamstrings relative from training to football games? And what they found is that they were more likely to injure themselves in games than in training, which makes sense when you're pushing yourselves a lot harder. The actual difference was 9 times more likely to injure themselves in a game. And this is just because you're pushing yourself harder, whereas in training you tend to hold some back and restrain yourself. So yeah, again, it shows that trying to maybe build training into higher intensities to mimic the game scenarios is probably a good thing, which means that the training probably still isn't quite up to task yet. So that was another interesting fact that they found on this research too. The other thing which was really interesting actually was that when you think about it, most people are right-handed, right-footed, and it's a small percentage therefore relatively in left. Obviously I know football's got a game of balance, left and right-sided players, but there still is more right-footed players than there is anyone else. So you might think that the right hamstring may well be the one therefore that gets injured more, but actually they found no difference between right or left hamstrings, which shows it isn't necessarily the kicking, it's more the other movements that involve both legs equally. So it could be the sprinting and for example, and stuff like that. So it was interesting that there is no difference in right to left, which also means that there's no difference from dominance in how strong and therefore resilient one is to the other. What's also really interesting is the hamstring injury rate has increased since 2001, and it's increased by 2.3%, which is not a lot, but it's going in the wrong direction. And you wouldn't say from 2001 to now that we're playing necessarily any differently or anything like that. If you go back from way back, yeah, there's going to be big differences there, but the training should have improved and stuff. So it does show again, maybe we're pushing people a bit too hard, maybe, and perhaps there's more we can do to try and target this to minimize that increase, because obviously over time that might continue to increase, which is obviously going in the wrong direction too. But what's even more interesting is when you delve deeper into this is that the training injury rates have gone up by 4%. So the game scenario actually probably hasn't increased. It's more the training area that's increased. So again, even though I said training needs to get more intense, there maybe needs to be more preparation in training to prepare for this as well. Or maybe the training itself needs to be altered in some way. But certainly an increase of 4% is obviously a little bit more substantial. So yeah, that's another one they found. So overall, it shows that, hamstring injury is obviously very common. It has a big issue in soccer, in football. And, we already know that there is some good stuff out there that you can do to target, which obviously they are doing a lot of, a lot of injury prevention programs. Obviously there is also the eccentric Nordic hamstring curl type exercise, which is shown to be really good at lowering the risk of injury. And I've seen plenty of players, publishing that on their Instagrams and so on. So it does show that things are being targeted. But obviously there is probably even more we can learn. As always, there's always more, and we're always delving deeper into these things. But there was just some research done on hamstring injuries with lots of little interesting facts and figures. So I just thought I'd present that to you today. But that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.